I really value toughness. I value team and I value toughness. I mean, they're at the top of the pecking order for me, and I think we were a team, and I thought we were tough.
It's one thing to have a lot, but to have less and to still give is just like a beautiful thing. And I think you see that in Spokane, and I'll also mirror that. You know, I think just in general, Cougs giving is one of the most gracious things that you can see.
The goal is to always just do better than we have in the past, right? And so we had not achieved $1 million previously. And so that was really exciting for us.
Welcome into the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Every week, we have so much fun getting caught up on all things it is Washington State Cougar athletics, but this is an extra special championship edition. We'll get into that. Some great news from down in Mesa, Arizona just this last week. There's so much to touch on, and that will be kind of our little tease here as we talk about our guests. We'll have Nathan Choate, head coach of the Cougar baseball team, stopping by. Camryn Irwin, a fantastic former student athlete on the volleyball team, now doing a great job with her broadcasting career. We'll get caught up with her, and we'll have Brandy Finch stopping by as well, assistant director of athletics for annual giving and stewardship. Will get caught up on the Night with Cougar athletic events. And a big thanks as always, before we really dive into things, to our sponsor, BECU. And with that, we bring in Jon Haarlow. Jon, all kind of smiles here as we've got some great news to touch on. We'll kind of go in chronological order at first because, as always, you've been busy. Let's start first that you made your way to Portland since our last edition of the podcast, and it sounds like you had some great donor meetings there.
We did, Chris. Good to see you. Championship edition is always a great edition to have here. So this one feels pretty good. Good to be back in Pullman, at least for a couple of days here. But yeah, I had a really neat opportunity last week, make sure I get my days correct here, on Thursday to speak to a group of our student affairs employees, like 200 or so, but how we can increase partnerships between the athletic department and all the different things that they're doing, where students are, what they're doing, what they're interested in, and how can we create a better community there for all our students. And that was a really neat thing. But I bring that up because I sprinted off stage, hopped in the car, and drove right to Portland. From there, got in late on Thursday night, and then had several discussions over in the Portland area last week with some donors. And there's excitement. I know we talk about all the different things that are going on. We feel the excitement internally, but the different places that we get out amongst the state and even beyond that, there's excitement. And it's good to be able to get out there and talk to Cougs. And kind of, I don't know, there was even this, a lot of the interviews I've done here recently, people talk about, well, what are you most excited about the fall? What are you most excited about the fall? And a lot of things I'm excited about the fall. But I have to remind everybody that we still had business to close out through the spring. And I've said this for the last 2 or 3 months, that this was a possibility, because I've gotten an incredible time to be able to spend around Coach and his staff, Coach Choate and his staff, and the student athletes, and they're a resilient bunch. And we talk about that. There was never a doubt in their minds that they could do such a thing. And so as we got out and amongst doing these different interviews and in these groups, I always thought that this was a possibility. And so it's just been neat to, again, there's some cool things in the spring to come, but in the fall to come, but the spring has been really good. So had some, I don't want to talk about names necessarily, but we had some really productive donor conversations in the Portland area. And so excited about where things are, and we're going to try and keep that momentum rolling here.
And with that, it takes us to this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Cougs down the baseball program at the Mountain West Championships in Mesa. And as you are so busy, you were able to make your way down there to be there, to support the program, to cheer them on. And it ended with them hoisting up a trophy and punching their ticket to the NCAA tournament. How was it being down there?
Awesome. My flight left at like 5 a.m. on Saturday morning. So I think I woke up at like 2:30 or so, and got in there at a reasonable time. But there were so many student athlete parents, grandparents, siblings, friends, whatever else there at the hotel and around the facility. It was just so cool to be surrounded by all the people that support the program, and I've been there sacrificing for their kids to be in this position as a student athlete for so long. So for lack of a technical term here, the vibes were really high down there, and so it was awesome. Now, if you've spent more than 5 minutes with me, everybody knows I'm a diehard Cubs fan as well. So we were playing this at Sloan Park, which is the spring training home for the Cubs. And so, did I nerd out a little bit on that and touring the facility and see where guys rehab and this and that? And yes, I absolutely did. So that was really cool. But then the games themselves, the team, let's see, the first game when I was down there was the game against San Diego State. Obviously, they handled business. What we did in game one, but then we come out and we kind of get punched in the mouth a little bit against San Diego State in that second game. Get a 5 spot put up on us in the first inning, but then we answer with 8. And it's, again, this team has been one that just continues to bounce back throughout the course of the season, and so so happy for them what they did. Now, I had to get back in town Monday for some meetings, so I unfortunately had to leave at the start of game 2. So as soon as the game starts, I get in the Uber, I head to the airport. I've got the game itself, the video on my iPad. I'm listening to Trevor on the radio call, and I'm watching live stats on my phone, right? I want to make sure that I'm as up to date as you can possibly be on all 3 mechanisms. Just as Trevor, I think, hits a sac fly to put us up by 3 in game 2 of the championship, we're taking off, and they make the announcement that we don't have Wi-Fi on this flight. And I'm like in an absolute panic because like, you can't do this to me. My anxiety is pegged about as high as it possibly could. There was the flight attendant on the flight had said, "Go Cougs" to me as we were getting on. And so I kind of wave her back. We're 45 minutes in as I've refreshed and tried to do all the different, quirks that people try to do to get some miracle Wi-Fi on the airplane. And I said, "Hey, you said you're a Coug. You have any access to the outside world right now?" She said, "No, sir, I'm so sorry." I'm like, you're killing me here. But as soon as we land, obviously, or maybe even a little bit before we land on the approach, I'm getting text messages on what the result was, which was awesome to see. And the amount of people that reached out was really cool too. The only other thing I'll mention is then somebody in the airport said, "Well, does this surprise you at all?" And I said, I kind of caught myself, so I didn't get myself in trouble. But I said, "No, this doesn't surprise me at all. We've talked about this in these hallways about winning championships. We're here to win championships. And again, this is a program that if you spend time with them, you knew that this was a possibility." And I'm so proud of Coach doing things the way he does them. The chemistry on that team. You get to spend time with the parents to talk about how much fun their student athletes are having as being part of this group and a part of this culture here. It's we've had conversations about what this was like being at the bowl game. The connection to that team, the amount of respect and admiration I have for these student athletes that have persevered through so many things. This is 100% why you do these types of jobs, to be able to see those student athletes achieve this. And something now, a postseason appearance like this can never be taken away from them, regardless of what comes next in their chapters of life. This is something that they'll remember forever.
It's an incredible accomplishment. Coming up, we'll get into some of the kind of the historical context of it. We have some of those kind of numbers and facts, but it is remarkable. And I'm feeling for you. I can only imagine what that's like when you get the score, the radio broadcast, the video feed cut off. But so glad we were able to
just
switch it from airplane mode to and seeing everything. That must have been a great feeling.
It was. Now I will. This is against FAA regulations. I probably shouldn't admit this on the podcast, but there's a couple times, during the flight, you flip off airplane mode just to see if a text will pop through. And I would get like these thumbs up emojis or these like, "let's go" or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Are we winning? Did we score? Because I couldn't send anything in return. So my blood pressure was through the roof, but we made it.
Oh, wow. Well, and on top of that, not only a championship to celebrate, but some impressive hardware handed out as well. Some honors that were given this last week. redshirt sophomore Nick Lewis, not only the Mountain West Conference Pitcher of the Year, what he did at the conference tournament really set the Cougs up in game one. Senior Gavin Roy was named the Mountain West Tournament MVP, and former Cougar basketball player Cedric Coward was named to the NBA All-Rookie First Team. There's even more to be smiling about for Cougs, just the individual accomplishments on top of the baseball championship.
Yeah, a lot of well-deserved accolades here. I know, and Max Hartman, I think, was also named to the all-conference team. I believe Ryan Shawnsby as well. I don't have the list in front of me, but just a number of recognition items there. And again, well-deserved. Nick pitched tremendously throughout the course of the entire season. He was steadfast and resilient as well. And then to watch Gavin, he's such a leader in the clubhouse, on the field, off the field, has made sacrifices for that team from a position standpoint. And then he flashed the leather a handful of times throughout the tournament, and it just seemed like he had clutch hit after clutch hit. He was Mr. Reliable. Super cool for Cedric as well. We've had an opportunity to connect with him in Memphis a couple of times since he's been drafted there, and a tremendous kid that still obviously stays in close contact with. I say kid. I'm getting old, Chris. Everyone's a kid anymore, but he still represents and has a lot of admiration and respect for the Cougs. So it's great to stay in touch with him, and this is a well-deserved honor.
It was really cool to see for Cedric, who is anyone who's spent any time around him. His personality, his energy is infectious, and so neat to see what has happened for him. And in 11 months, 12 months, what he has been able to do has been remarkable. And before we get to kind of our full recap of what has happened for athletics in the last week on the field, just that final thought of football season tickets. It's coming up soon. It will be Cougar football season before we know it.
It will. It's coming fast. We've got many plans on sale. We've got season tickets on sale, obviously. If anybody pays attention to social media or has been around campus, you can see that the turf has been rolled up, starting to be taken away. That construction to make modifications at Giesa Field is underway. We'll have more information about how to purchase pieces of that turf or some mementos from that turf here in future episodes, and you can keep an eye on social media for that as well. But do understand that we want to get that into the hands of the Coug faithfuls, rightfully so. But a lot of things to be on the lookout for. And again, think the energy on the field, we're going to create an atmosphere in there to match that, and get your season tickets. It's going to be a year you don't want to miss.
Well, and with that, kind of more context into what the Cougar baseball program was able to accomplish. So winning the Mountain West Championship, that means the ticket has been punched to the NCAA tournament. We know the Cougs will be taking part in the Eugene Regional. It's double elimination, so we know for sure the Cougs will get 2 games, but it's a quick turnaround. It will be Friday taking on Oregon State. First pitch at noon. Our radio coverage, that will start at 11:45. Trevor Williams does a great job. He'll be down there in Eugene for all the action. So it's Yale and Oregon. The other teams as part of the regional. So that's what's to come. What's been accomplished, though, that first conference title since winning the Pac-10 North in 1995. You look at that first overall conference title, first time that's happened since 1976. The Pac-8 title, the first trip to the NCAA tournament for the Cougar baseball program since 2010. And as we said, what's to come? A team the Cougs have already played twice this year. Oregon State will be the opponent on Friday. Again, win or lose, there will be a game on Saturday. It is double elimination. So much to look forward to this weekend, and hoping a lot of Cougs will be there in Eugene. I know so many Cougs will be tuned in, whether that's listening or watching, following along to what's to come at the Eugene Regional. And then an update on track. Cougars begin action. That's this week. The NCAA West preliminary round is in Fayetteville, Arkansas, running May 25th through the 30th. 5 men and 4 women will compete in that this week.
Yeah, while campus is a little quiet here as people have made their way home for the summer, there's still a lot of really meaningful Cougs in action here over the next couple of weeks. So nothing like it.
Well, we are excited to talk even more about that incredible accomplishment of the Cougar baseball program. We'll take a break. We'll have a quick word from our sponsor, BECU. When we come back, we'll have WSU head coach Nathan Choate join us. That's right after this timeout.
How do you spot a Coug in the wild? Head to toe crimson, gray, and, well, anything except purple? A simple "Go Cougs" at an airport halfway around the globe, or maybe just a little pride from BECU and some extra money in your pocket when you pay for your tacos. Get the card Cougs everywhere recognize. Join today. BECU. Go Cougs.
Well, we are back, and we are thrilled to bring in our first guest. Jon, this is someone who brought Cougs a lot of joy this last weekend, and we got a lot to talk about of what's on tap as well with our first guest here.
Absolutely, Chris. A lot of good things to continue to talk about here. Joined by head baseball coach for the Cougs, Nathan Choate. Coach, congratulations. Thanks for joining us in a busy, no time to rest here, busy day.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. Pretty proud of our players and our program.
It's always tough to say. I know you're certainly congratulations is in order, but I know that there's still more out there that you're looking to chase. So it's always a tough congratulations, but also I know your eyes are still forward here. So to get us rolling, I mean, getting the Cougs back to the first NCAA appearance since 2010, how's it feel?
It feels good. I mean, I think you can be proud and still feel like the job's not finished. I think both things can be equally true. And so I am proud, and there will be a time for us to look back, and our guys will be proud of it. But, the story to me is more important than even the championship. We were a last place team last year. And so I just think it's a great lesson in life that don't listen to people when they tell you can't do things. If you do things the right way, you keep your head down, your mouth shut, you come together, you do things the right way. You can accomplish pretty special things. And so as a coach, I'm just as proud of that, of how we played, how they stayed together. The championship is just the culmination of the result, but I thought the process was awesome.
Well, throughout the season, and we saw that on display this last weekend at the Mountain West Championship, that key word seemed to be resilient, and that goes right into what you're saying. I know that phrase you've used before is the team has been able to take a punch. As a coach, is there any better feeling than that, knowing that this team is resilient as it is and seeing it all come to a culmination this last weekend?
No, I really value toughness. I value team and I value toughness. I mean, they're at the top of the pecking order for me, and I think we were a team, and I thought we were tough, and it wouldn't have made sense for us to win the first game on Sunday. That's not how it was supposed to work. We were supposed to take another punch, and we were supposed to do it in the second game because we like to do it the hard way, which is a little bit more gratifying. So I thought it was just a culmination of how our season went.
So, Coach, you were picked 8th in the preseason poll heading into the year. Anybody that, and I've said this a million times, I got the best job in the world because I get to spend time around all of our student athletes, but anybody that spent time around you or your program throughout the course of the year knew that you all were capable of this, the resilience, the chemistry. You've got a group that's just rolling, but how early on, or is this potential that you saw early on in this team that they could get to this place?
Yeah, I knew probably about 2 or 3 weeks to go in the last season is when I was like, okay, if we can keep this thing together and if it's going to go in the right direction. And then at the end of fall, I kept telling people that were close to the program, the best analogy I can give it is for people that have kids where they want a certain Christmas present and you get them this unique present and you got to wait 6 weeks till they see their reaction when they open it on Christmas morning. And it's something they've been asking for. That's kind of how I felt about this season with our players. I knew what was kind of out in front of them. So I'm thrilled that they got to experience a championship, something that no one will ever be able to take from them.
Well, in those 4 Mountain West tournament games, the bats certainly came through, averaging over 8 runs per game. Yet, I mean, we've got to certainly talk about the pitching staff because that is not an easy task that they had. I know for you specifically, there's a lot of decisions to make on what buttons to push, who to have out there win with everything on the line. What would you say as you reflect back on what the pitching staff was able to do to make it all happen down there in Mesa?
Yeah, I think that just the word for me is growth, right? I think they continue to get better and they're growing, and they were competing. And, it's not always pretty, right? And it doesn't always have to be pretty. But they made pitches when they needed to. Different guys stepped up. I thought Scott Ringett was awesome in the second game on Sunday, coming in a 2-0 count. Nick Lewis was great on Friday. Luke Myers. I mean, anything that I've asked those guys to do from a role standpoint, they'll just do it. And so pretty unselfish and really competitive.
Coach, maybe talk about the seniors. Obviously, Gavin wins tournament MVP, made some incredible plays in the field, key clutch hits. Max with a grand slam there to put that game out of reach. Maybe talk about the role that the seniors have played in leading this group.
Yeah, the leadership, the best teams are player led, and your best players need to be your best leaders. That's the formula in any sport. And after we played Reno, I made the decision to move Gavin to second and Kyler to shortstop. And here you are asking a captain to move from shortstop to second base. And we played Seattle U on that game, and we run ruled them. We didn't lose a series in conference after we made that decision. And it wasn't about the decision as much as it was the reaction to the decision. If you didn't know and you spent any time around Gavin, he just kept leading. And so for him to end up being, the MVP of the conference tournament, it's a lesson there. Like, hey, don't worry about what the role is. Just pour yourself into your team and what's best for the team. And eventually you will get rewarded individually if you can keep those things in the right order. And so that's what I think is pretty cool is he moved to second because it just made us a better team. And then he ends up being the MVP.
Well, here we are. It's after Memorial Day, and it's such an exciting thing to still be talking Cougar baseball. That means it's going to go down in the record books as what a great season for the Cougs, but that also means it's a quick turnaround for what's up next. So heading down to Eugene, the NCAA Regional at PK Park. The opponent is set. It's Oregon State in that first game Friday at noon. What's it like? Okay, turning the page and knowing that another matchup with the Beavers is coming up here before we know it.
Yeah, no, obviously we played them earlier this year. I think it's pretty poetic with everything that's happened in the conference the last 2 years. They went the independent route. And when I was asked my opinion, I thought we needed a conference affiliation the last 2 years for a variety of reasons. And I was pretty boisterous about that. And so here we go, taking two completely different paths. And here we are playing on Friday in the first round of a regional. And so they chose their path, we chose our path. And here we are playing on Friday. I think it's pretty unique.
Quite the script. Gotta love it. The beauty of college athletics here. So talk about maybe the keys to success when you get into these double elimination tournaments, managing the arms, the depth. What are the key elements to navigating through that?
Well, starting pitching first and foremost, right? You got to get good starting pitching. You need your starters to go deep in games. You need to play good defense. And I do think scoring first or scoring early is really important. It kind of takes some of the pressure off of you. But as you see, you really have to manage it a game at a time, because if you try to worry about the next day, it might not be there for you. So really just all we're focused on is how to find a way to win on Friday. That's as simple as that. And if you have to piece it together the next day, you do that. And so once again, starting pitching. That's in the big leagues. That's in college baseball. The bullpen, even in the big leagues, it's a coin flip, right? You see guys come out of the bullpen. Sometimes they pitch good, sometimes they don't. But really, it's about starting pitching.
Coach, we're going to let you get back to, I know you got to get off to practice here, but congratulations again to you. Really proud of you. Really proud of the rest of the staff and the guys. Go get them. We'll see you down in Eugene.
Appreciate it. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
We'll take a quick break. More to come on this week's episode right after this.
How do you spot a Coug in the wild? Head to toe crimson, gray, and, well, anything except purple? A simple go Cougs at an airport halfway around the globe? Or maybe just a little pride from BECU and some extra money in your pocket when you pay for your tacos. Get the card Cougs everywhere recognize. Join today. BECU. Go Cougs.
Well, here we go. We're excited to bring in our next guest, and this is someone who has just been killing it since leaving Pullman, and Jon, someone as well who got to reconnect with some Cougs in Spokane not that long ago.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Always really cool to have former student athletes back on the podcast and be able to interact. Really excited to be joined now by Camryn Irwin, former volleyball student athlete. Camryn, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, it's always great to be with my Coug family and back in the fold and having just a blast getting to know everybody again.
So let's rewind the clock a little bit for those that may not know. How did you becoming a Coug come about?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. I started off in the Pac-12 conference at that we'll just say the green and yellow team the other direction. We won't name them right now. I do love my Ducks, I will say that. But started off at the University of Oregon and was lucky enough to play for Jen Greeny, who came over and was in her first year of coaching at Washington State, and got to know her. And lo and behold, got 3 seasons playing for the Cougs, and just absolutely love my time out on the Palouse. Very much my style of university and community, like the blue collar, just kind of gritty underdog mentality. It was something I really resonated with. And the journalism school was fantastic too. That was something that was always in the forefront of my mind. And so I tried to make the most of my time, both as a student athlete, as a student and as an athlete, and got a chance to work within the athletic department. Just don't go back in the chronicles of the WSU athletic YouTube page, because you will see me, whether it's learning how to cheerlead or in a rowing costume or something else. Very grateful for my time on the Palouse and everybody associated with the athletic department, because it was quite a career from on the court to even in the classroom.
And I want to look at my notes to make sure I don't butcher any of this here, but you mentioned performance on the court. Team captain, 2-time Pac-12 All-Academic, left here 4th in career assists. So you certainly made an impact when you were here. Used all of that then as a springboard to play professionally in Europe for a bit. What was that experience like?
Yeah, no, it's funny because a lot of times I kind of just graze over that portion of my career. I think it's so funny, even working in broadcast journalism and in sports, most people don't even know I played professionally. But it was one of the coolest experiences of my life. I highly suggest, if any student has an opportunity, whether they're playing a sport or not, to go overseas and live in different cultures. It's one of the things that opened my eyes to just the need for empathy in not just our culture, but in our world, and understanding how certain things come to life, and seeing different ways of living and different ways of viewing sport and how we train, as well as our family life. Like, there's so much beauty that comes from that experience. So let alone was it great for personal development, but as an athlete too, I mean, you are fully in charge of your development. You've got a coach, but most of the time, you're sitting there going, I don't necessarily speak the same language as 90% of my teammates or my coach. So you're kind of sitting, trying to figure out, what drill am I running and am I doing this correctly? A ton of pressure, because you're required to be at a different level than most of your teammates. So you just, from the very beginning, had to kind of set a high standard and manage yourself and kind of create your own brand and your own business. And so being overseas was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I got hurt my second pro season that kind of ended my professional career. But the beautiful thing is adversity just sets up the next door opening. And that was to get straight into broadcasting. So as much as I think I would love to still be playing today, I'm grateful that I got a chance to finally transition over.
Well, and you've done a great job in that transition into your broadcasting career. How did your time at WSU prepare you for that next chapter in life?
Oh, man, I first think about Bill Stevens, my lovely, lovely friend, and the athletic department that just gave me so many opportunities. I remember I was tasked when I first started working for the athletic department. I was writing the senior bios for our football program. And it was maybe 200 to 300 words. And I would sit down with my peers, several of my friends, and figure out, how could I tell your life story in less than 300 words? And it was the program was like one of my first bylines. I think I saved them. I was going through stuff even yesterday in my storage unit. I'm finding all of my old credentials from back in the day. And it was a blast from the past. But just the opportunity to learn on the job. I remember I was, getting maybe a handful of dollars here and there. This is the day before NIL, and the only thing that mattered to me was the experience. So I was also writing, for the Daily Evergreen back in the day. And I had so many great professors too. Like, I remember my journalism professors, like, you get one word wrong and your grade drops from an A to a B, but that level of professionalism that was required to get through Murrow was something that has truly stuck with me. I had great sports management professors. There's just so many people that even to this day will reach out and have kind of followed along on this journey. And I'm just so grateful for those that really partnered with me. And it has been a 10-year journey that they've partnered with me. And just forever grateful to be a Coug. It's not just in the athletic department. It comes from the university as well.
Well, you have worked on broadcasts for ESPN, NBC, CBS, the Pac-12 network, just to name a handful. Can you get us up to speed and tell us what is currently keeping you busy these days?
Yeah, pretty wild. We're in the summer right now, so some contract conversation is going on where I'm going next. But I've found a couple great homes. One more towards the Midwest and out east. I host a college football show that direction and absolutely love it there. It's like our version of college game day. So I get to sit down with head football coaches across the country on Fridays and Saturdays and tell those stories of both the coaches and the student athletes. We get to have some fun, which I think is something sometimes you miss out when you're in the thick of game coverage. So I just genuinely love that role. And then I'm just about to head into my 6th year with the Los Angeles Rams. So I host a bunch of our studio stuff and our game days. It is one of the most life-giving jobs I've ever done. Just getting to interact with fans and be a part of that community. Like there are a few things that I cherish more than that role. And beach volleyball starts. So just actually this week, I'm heading off to Belmar, New Jersey, starting 9th year as the play-by-play for the pro beach volleyball tour in the country. So lots going on. Also cover indoor volleyball as well. So there's the multitude of things. Too many jobs right now.
Well, you are certainly busy. As you kind of reflect back, do you have a favorite broadcast memory when it comes to calling a Cougar event?
Oh, man. Yeah, there was a post-game interview I remember doing with Gardner Minshew and Mike Leach, two very dear friends and just people I think the world of. And Leach just giving me his time over the years. He really took me under his wing. So super grateful for him. And then Gardner, I remember he was like bloodied, his hands were bloody. It was just a full rush of the field and he couldn't even hear me. And we're this close to each other. Neither one of us can speak nor hear. And somehow we got through the interview and there are just images. And it was just the epitome of what Gardner Minshew was to Washington State. Like just this like joyful, gritty competitor that found ways to win. And that photo is something that I just always look back on, just like blood running down his hand, just the thick of Cougar Nation around him. That was probably top tier, that post game.
You were gracious enough with your time to come back and host our Night with Cougar Athletics Spokane just a few short weeks ago. Maybe talk about what was that event like for you to host?
Well, it was a little bit of a rewind for me because I remember going as a student athlete and just knowing that these are the folks that are allowing me to have an education. I'm the youngest of 4, so a scholarship meant the world to me, especially just like that time frame in my family's life. And also, I think specifically Spokane, there were so many that showed up from whether it's the Pullman community or the greater Palouse, and knowing that so many of them are farmers and just blue collar folks that this money means so much to them and their businesses. A lot of them are small business owners, and to see just the amount of, donation level and sacrifice of funds. And I know what goes into those communities and those people making that sort of income, and to be able to give that away is just, it brings a different meaning to me. It's one thing to have a lot, but to have less and to still give is just a beautiful thing. And I think you see that in Spokane, and I'll also mirror that. I think just in general, Cougs giving is one of the most gracious things that you can see. And I think it was also just a blast. We had so much fun. And as the night progressed, just getting a chance to engage with Cougar Nation and see old friends and old colleagues, that was one of the greatest gifts I've been given in the last several years. It was a joy.
Did anything surprise you that night in Spokane that you weren't expecting?
I would say Caden Pinnock has got a great arm, which was fantastic to see. That didn't surprise me. That is to be expected. But we had a little bit of fun with them up on stage, and Kirby was fantastic to sit down with. I think the staff that he's assembled, seeing them all in the building, and also just getting a chance to connect with them afterwards was really fun. Just the amount of community friendship that they bring. And just the connection to the Pacific Northwest, I think, is so pivotal, not just in terms of coaching, but more so recruiting and the ability to understand your fan base. That really was brought to life, I think, with those guys, sitting down with them. And I think there's a young, youthful aspect to that coaching staff as well right now that really gets me excited. Just beautiful to talk with Kirby's wife as well. Like, just great foundation all around. I'm really excited for where that program's going.
We got to catch up with some of the other former student athletes that were here around your time as well. Luke Falk, Peyton Poulor. What was it like to catch up with those two?
Yeah, so fun. Blast from the past for sure. I think back and I'm like, some of those guys were the guys I was writing, their senior bios for. And I was really gifted back. Oh gosh, that would have been 2014, 15, 16 when I was still playing professionally and came back and was working for Washington State, getting a chance to work with kind of that crew. River Craycraft was also kind of in that mix. He's still playing in the NFL. So many of those names come to life. And that was such a phenomenal group to see. And it is wild to see like a different phase of all of their lives. Like, it's been 10 years since I've seen many of them, and all of us have kind of progressed in different ways and excelled, which is so fun and not surprising whatsoever. But yeah, now I just want to sit down with Luke and be like, all right, teach me how to play QB, man. Just a total different beast than he was even when he was playing. So it's just fun to get to know him in a different light for sure.
Well, we really appreciate the time today. It's been so much fun to catch up. Appreciate all you do for WSU, and hopefully we'll have you back here in Pullman before we know it.
Yeah, I can't wait to come back. I want to come back to football, volleyball game, have some fun, and maybe not work for it. Just come and enjoy it once.
Deal.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well, we will take a quick time out. More on that theme that we were hitting on, Night with Cougar Athletics, the CAF. We'll dive into that right after this timeout. Well, here we are with our next guest. And John, I think it's a perfect transition with our conversation that we had with Camryn, and now getting to bring in our next guest to really build on that.
Thanks, Chris. Excited to be joined now. Brandy Finch, Assistant Athletic Director for Annual Giving and Stewardship. Brandy, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you've been the driving force behind Night with Cougar Athletics over the last 3 months. And really, those are just when the events happen, but the planning is much more time consuming than that. First off, and I said this at all the events, but I'll say it again, thank you for your time and dedication and energy on this. It's incredible. And I know it's not an easy lift, but thank you for what you've done with that. Secondly, now that it's over, how do you feel?
So good. So good. I took a little vacation last week, so now I'm recharged again, which was needed after spanning 3 months of events, but it was so good. All events were fantastic, well attended, and so exciting. So we're kind of coming off that adrenaline rush right now.
Well, and I don't want to bury the lead here, because that number that has been mentioned on the podcast before, the 3 events generated more than $1 million for Cougar student athletic scholarships. Was that the goal? And has that ever been achieved before?
The goal is to always just do better than we have in the past, right? And so we had not achieved $1 million previously. And so that was really exciting for us. As we kind of saw it approaching, we thought, okay, we can do this, and stepped up our efforts, going into the Spokane event. But it was in sight, and we hadn't seen that, and that was so exciting. So typically, we raised about 200 to 300,000 less than we did at this event. So to come up from that so significantly was so exciting for the team, and especially for our student athletes. It benefits them. And so to see that huge increase from our donors and our fans and everyone that attended was amazing.
Wow. Well, a ton of credit to you and to everyone involved for making that happen, and to put these events on. It is so much work. Can you take us back? And I know you're probably already thinking about next year a little bit, but how early do you start planning for these events?
Oh, right away. So, we kind of take a break as we get toward the end of the fiscal year, university term there, but that's midsummer. And then we ramp back up heading into the fall. And so we try to think as early as we can about what we're going to do next, but it takes a good year to plan 3 full-scale fundraising events like this. I feel like most organizations probably typically do one large banquet and auction a year, and we have to always go big, so we hit it with three. And we travel all around the state. So it takes a long time to plan and to execute. A lot of hours, not only by myself, but our whole team, Dana, Taylor, Marcus, Mariah, all of our development officers that help. It takes everybody. It's a true team effort.
Want to rewind to a comment that Brandy just mentioned that typically we're $200,000 to $300,000 less. That means we were 20 to 30% more this year than we.
Thank you. Yes.
I don't want to gloss over that because that's a tremendous thing and a testament to the work and where Coug Nation is and how hard the team is working. That's a pretty big deal. So again, congratulations on that. The events this year were different. Kind of Spokane was our typical sort of traditional banquet style that we had, although had some new kind of twists to it as well. But Seattle was a little bit different. Prosser was a little bit different. So maybe holistically, what were the changes that were implemented between previous years and this go around?
Yeah. So as the team sat down, and talked about the events, we'd been kind of doing the same thing for a long time, and people were in a routine. They knew what to expect. They knew where to go, what time of year. And, with that, you see attendance change. You see things kind of shift. And I think one thing that Cougs know is that things are always changing and we have to adapt and change with it. And so we sat down and said, how can we do this better? How can we do it different? Because if we're getting a little bored, the guests are getting a little bored. So how can we fix that and bring them in? And as we started to brainstorm, we thought, okay, we need new venues, new activations. And we just appreciate everyone for sticking with us through that. Change is sometimes hard, as we all know. But it seems like our guests really appreciate it and stuck with us and got excited, and it encouraged more people to attend or to come back if we hadn't seen them in a couple of years. So that was really great to see some new faces, some old faces, and re-engage with everybody.
Well, have you received much feedback on the changes and what fans thought about them?
Yeah, so we did a survey after each event and then, of course, talked to a bunch of people while we were there. And it sounds like everyone really liked the change of pace, especially in Prosser. Prosser was, as we couldn't have anticipated, one of our largest events. And that just turns out to be the best, moment of the whole series, is that we booked this event in Prosser not knowing what was coming for us with Coach Moore being hired. And Prosser turned out in a really big way. Tri-Cities, Yakima, all the surrounding communities showed up in such a big way that we were over capacity at that venue. We fit in everybody that we could. It was tight. Not everybody got to sit down, and folks stuck with us and they still had a good time. Smasney Cellars was amazing. They were great to host us, poured lots of great wine for everybody. And I think we all had a really good time trying something new, upstairs, downstairs, all around the venue, outside. I mean, we had people in every corner of that venue, and it was a really good time. And then Seattle, we kind of did the same event that we usually do, but we went to a new venue at Victory Hall, which is in downtown Seattle, right in the sports district. And I think that set the tone in a big way. We're all about sports. So we gave up on kind of the typical hotel atmosphere and really enjoyed some new scenery, some new activations with the auction and the raffles. And Seattle's coming back. That typically is our biggest venue. Went down for a little while, and this year we see Seattle rebounding. So they're still with us.
Well, while you have been deep in these events, there are other CAF promotions that allows fans to get involved with Cougar athletics. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so another large campaign that we have going on is Rally Your Region. So that is to support football revenue sharing and NIL. And so we've got that campaign. And then, as always, a campaign for memberships for the annual fund. So the annual fund supports scholarships. That is the kind of heart and soul of what we do. So scholarships and excellence funds are the primary ways to support through the CAF. And we are here to help with those two priorities all the time.
I can't help myself to point this out, but we've got one of the largest living alumni bases in the new Pac-12 of 250,000 living alumni. Our annual fund membership is around 3,500 or so. So there is a tremendous amount of growth out there, opportunity for us to continue to expand this net, get more and more people involved. I know Brandy and Dana and her team are doing an incredible job of casting that net wider, but I put that out as a challenge to the Cougs that where we've got 24,000 license plates floating out there and those types of things. Cougs are wanting to be activated. They're ready to be activated, and now's the time to get on board. New conference, new coach, baseball team that's headed to the postseason, all sorts of other Olympic championship opportunities. Let's go. There's no question in that, Brandy. That was a rant from me, but there's so much opportunity, and I'm anxious for Cougs to continue to get on board. Maybe talk about some other opportunities throughout the summer for Cougs to get together or other CAF events.
Yeah, so we will launch the Homegrown Tour, which is something that we started last year, in which our athletic director, Jon, you'll join us on the road as we visit some small towns around the state and make sure we get in touch with all of our fans across the board to answer any questions and just bring Coug spirit. We like to say we're bringing Pullman to you. So that's what we continue to try to do here in the CAF and make sure we reach everybody and stay engaged. So stay tuned for more on that. Announcements coming soon. In the fall, we've got the Hall of Fame banquet coming up. So those tickets will go on sale shortly. We're so excited to host that and turn it into somewhat of a night with Cougar Athletics in Pullman and bring something a little bigger and a little more exciting to Pullman. So the thing I love about this team is we're always looking at ways to do things bigger and do things more. And so we're excited to do that this year. Also looking at hosting another social in Pullman this summer for our local community as well. And then in terms of the CAF membership, we, again, still looking for new things. Stay tuned for more membership details. As we look at that, it's $100 to join the CAF. We're looking at ways that we can enhance that membership, get you some more information, some more swag, different activations along the way as we enter in the fall. So stay tuned for that.
Well, well said, Brandy. If there's a group of Cougs or a place where there are Cougs, we want to be there with those Cougs. We recognize it's not always manageable to get over to Pullman throughout the course of the year. Certainly get here for the 6 or 7 home games, but we want to meet Cougs where they are. And if there's a group that's willing to listen or engage or wants to learn or we can educate, we've got a group that wants to get out there and get in front of them as well. So as Brandy mentioned, be on the lookout for how you can get involved, where we're going to be, because it's going to be a lot of places here in short order. So we're excited for that. Brandy, we'll let you get back to your day job. Thanks for all the hard work that you're doing, that your team is doing. You're doing a great job. I hope you and your team know that. It's tireless. Sometimes it's thankless too, but you do wonderful work. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, that will do it for this week's episode. Not only a big thanks to Brandy, but to all of our guests. Camryn Irwin, great to catch up with her. And of course, talking with Coach Choate about that conference championship, the Cougs taking it all down in Mesa and getting ready for the NCAA tournament this week. And as always, a thank you to our sponsor, BECU. We appreciate you tuning in as always. We'll be back with you next week. This has been the Inside WSU Athletics Podcast. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.